Hey everyone, Benem here again. Today, well, we have something pretty cool we got from the post, and it's from New Zealand. I hope the camera will focus. I think it did. Yeah, good. So, yeah, I decided to, I found a pretty interesting post on eBay where someone was selling part of their collection for a very old set, Magic Rulers, which was basically like the third set ever, or pretty close to that. And so I decided to give it a shot. I made an offer and I won. This took a long time to get over here because for some reason it was opened by the customs or something. I don't know. It wasn't like this when the vendor sent it to me. Like I had pictures and everything of when the person actually packaged it, and it wasn't marked like this, and it didn't have this tape over here and stuff like that. So yeah. Probably the reason why it was so late is because of customs and stuff like that. It is from very far away from me. I mean, I'm in Canada and that's from New Zealand. But yeah, it looks like the packaging is still pretty intact. And hopefully the cards inside are in the same condition as what was shown in the pictures I saw when I purchased it. So obviously these cards are not mint condition because they were somewhat used or in a collection of someone else before. They're not fresh from the pack, but the seller was reasonable when I made my offer, and this is pretty good to help me collect the older sets, because I do really want to get most of the foils from the older sets, just to say that I have them in my collection. Even if they're a little damaged, as long as they're not heavily played, I'm good with it. So this deck box looks pretty fresh, although it's old, and ooh, yeah, here we go. So you can see the cards are a little bent because of humidity, and there's clearly some wear on them. But let's get started reviewing what we have over here. So I got a pretty decent deal on this, and let's see if things are worth it. Ooh, so we have Magic Ruler, Black Pendant Super Rare. It is Super Rare Magic card. There we go, camera focused. And we are set. Looking good. I love it. It's not too damaged, actually. It's looking pretty good. I'll actually put this here. Black Pendant. Sleeve was used, but the card was pretty good. Electric Snake. Just a normal common. But commons are commons. I mean, you take what you can when you buy a collection online. Ooh, Mahavilo. Super rare. Let's take it out of the sleeve and check it out. Super Rare Mahavilo. This was a great card back then. You would just boost it, and it would gain even more attack, and back then, beat sticks were the norm of how you won. Like, you had one Mirror Force in your deck, and that's how you countered most of the plays, you know? Like, you had Trap Hole, you had Mirror Force, you had Monster Reborn, you had Raigeki if that wasn't banned at that point. The deck really, most of the decks for the 3 or 4 first sets really revolved around beating your opponent with a beat stick, and sometimes countering them, and then beating them with a beat stick. Guardian of the Throne Room, common. For you guys who want to see, check out some old school cards. So they're not first edition, but they were worth the wait. Up to now, Giant Germ rare. I'll put the rares over here. Giant Germ was a pretty cool card back then. When it got destroyed, you special summoned 2 from your deck, and it dealt damage when it got destroyed. So it's like 500 damage to your opponent, and you get 2 monsters you can tribute for like a Blue Eyes or something. That's incredible back then. Mother Grizzly, another card that's been reprinted quite a lot since then. Ooh, Shining Angel, another card of the same variety of Mother Grizzly. Don't care too much about the condition of the rares and commons. The foils are what matters most. Nimble Momonga. This was also a card like Giant Germ, but instead of dealing damage, just increased your life points. Pretty cool. I like this card. It's been a long time since I've seen most of these. Flying Kamakiri. Same as Mother Grizzly and Shining Angel. This is the same kind of card. It dies by battle and you special summon something else. Ooh, Messenger of Peace. I love this card. This is a card that goes way back with me. I used to play this quite a bit back then because I really liked to stop my opponent from doing anything, and then I would just destroy my own stuff when I had my board. Or lately, I've played this like a year back or so, when True Dracos, yeah, when they first came out, you know, but like Masterpiece and that gang, I used to play this to help me stall my opponent and summon my big monsters. For a super rare magic card with the glare, you can see that there aren't any scratches on the front, but the back has a bit of a scratch, like just a few scratches in the middle. They're not that apparent. There's not that much edge wear on the sides either. That's not bad. It is not bad. Like, it's worth putting at least in a binder. Mystic Tomato, or Tomato, pretty much the same. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Pretty cool. Old school Magic Ruler card. Same as Kamakiri and the gang. Ooh, secret rare Serpent Knight Dragon. This feels like it's been played more than the others, and for a reason. This is a very powerful card back then. 2350 attack. Serpent Knight Dragon. Back then, secret rares were hard to come by. They were hard to come by, like very hard. MRL 103. That is awesome. I have this in my collection at the moment, but it's very damaged. This is maybe like a 7 out of 10 or something. This is good. Like, the one I have is like a 2 or a 3. This is awesome. I'll actually re-sleeve it in one of my own sleeves, and I'll put it in the middle, because Serpent Knight Dragon is an awesome card. I was very sad back then when I first found that card. It's not as strong as other two tribute monsters, and I mean, it's just such an amazing looking card. Invader of the Throne, super rare. This has seen a lot more play than the other super rares. I just feel it with the corners. Flip, select one opponent monsters and switch control of it with this card. This effect cannot be activated during the battle phase. So, like, the opponent would attack it, this would flip, and, well, that would have been useless. Oh, it's off-centered. Look, MRL touches the thing, and the attack and defense touches the border too. That's off-centered. Wow. That's intense. I mean, if you look at the other ones, like, it's way more centered than this. Okay, maybe you guys might not see it as well, but to old school players, this is common to have mis-centered cards, and you get some tricks, and you get the eyes used to it, you know? Speaking of eyes, Heroes Shadow Scout. Heroes Shadow Scout. Pretty cool. I used to really like the artwork on that card for some reason. It's just creepy, but it's not good. Liquid Beast, common. Griggle. I used to call this card Giggles when I was young. Like, there's a party store in my province, I guess. I don't know if it's a big chain, but it's called Giggles Party Store. Shout out to them, I guess. Minar. Insect. Looking good. Looking creepy. Looking good. UFO Turtle, just like for Kamakiri and the gang. I really like that card. I really played a lot Pyramid Turtle. Oh, Senju with 1,000 Hands. That is a great card. Magic Ruler Era. This is great. You summon this, get a ritual monster card from your deck to your hand, and shuffle your deck. But like, you would summon this, search for Relinquished, and usually at that point, you were just missing one card, and this is still a 1400 attack monster. Back then, getting over 1700 attack was great. So use this, use Messenger of Peace in the worst case scenarios, and you could stall for days and get your Relinquished, get rid of Messenger of Peace using D-Spell, and your opponent had nothing going on against you. I'll put Senju over here because it's a great rare card. Karate Man, or Karate Man. I used to really like this card, just because it's, you know, it's Afro guy. I think there's an actual cartoon about an Afro black guy doing karate and stuff. That's pretty cool. Giant Rat, just like the rest of the gang of the Kamakiris, UFO, and Pyramid and stuff. Giant Rat for Earth monsters. Ooh, we got Hyozan Ryu. Hyozan Ryu! This has a great amount of defense, but when you tributed 2 monsters to set a card, your opponent did not fall for the trap. Like, they did not fall for the trap. They would wait until they had at least a 20-something attack beat stick on their field. Like, if you set a monster by tributing 2 cards, I wouldn't attack it unless I had at least 2500 attack. You know, it's not smart. Jigen Bakudan. Jigen Bakudan was a very weird card. Like, when this was printed in Pegasus's deck, I was just confused. I think it was in Pegasus. Yes, it was in Pegasus's deck. Anyways, I was just confused. I like the artwork, but it's just a weird card. Ryuran. Another card that was very Pegasus-related for some reason. A vicious little dragon sheltered in an egg that looks deceptively harmless. But look at those stats. Look at those stats. Wow, that was a dangerous monster. Back then. Crab Turtle. A very fan-favorite card right here. 2550 attack. That's just a crazy weird number. But back then, that was pretty strong. This was stronger than Dark Magician. You wanted to see this. Dark Magician was harder to summon back then than this card, for some reason. But hey, level 8, you could just send, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... No, that's not enough. But, like, you could just summon Senju, search for Crab. If you had another Crab in your hand, or if you had another level 4 in your hand, and you had the ritual spell, send Senju and the other 4, or send the other Crab from your hand, and you had at least 1 or 2 monsters in your field stronger than Dark Magician. And back then, Dark Magician was like the norm of what's decent for a level 7. Eat Gaboon. Common trap. Never really played this. It's decent, but it's not good. House of Adhesive Tape, just like Gaboon. Decent, but not good. Back then, now it's horrible, but it used to be something. Labyrinth Wall. Tribute 1 card, stall your opponent for days. 3000 defense was intense back then. Usually you'd use your spells and traps to destroy this, and your opponent would be able to summon their bigger monsters without fearing those spell and traps. Like Fissure would be used against Labyrinth Wall because it targets the lowest attack, I believe. And then, well, your opponent wouldn't fear Fissure anymore because usually you wouldn't play that many Fissures, if at all. Horn of the Unicorn. Boost your light... No, just increase the attack and defense of a monster by 700. When it's sent from the field to the grave, returns to the top of your deck. Mahavelo and this was a great combo. It's a super rare and a rare, so that wasn't too difficult to get. And this gave 700 more, plus 500, so that's 1200 more, which made it a 2750, which was a lot of attack points, just for 2 cards that aren't that hard to get. It's almost as strong as Blue Eyes, which back then was like the strongest monster you could just play normally. So a very great combo back then. Also, Acts of Despair was a great thing, but I'm not sure when it actually came out. I don't remember which set anymore, but it's in the first ones. Psychic Kappa. An amphibian with a myriad of powers to shield it from enemy attacks. It looks weird. I like it. Black Illusion Ritual. Now we are getting to the serious stuff. Super rare ritual card for Relinquished. Love it. Magic Ruler. Black Illusion Ritual. And oh, it's been played. It's been played. I don't know if the camera does it justice or not, but it's been played. Like, yeah, I can see some scratches and some little marks and stuff. But the front looks great, and that's what matters when you try to complete a binder. The quality of the cards can always be increased later on when the budget allows it. But for now, the amount is what matters most. Snake Fang. Decrease the monster's def by 500 during the turn this card is activated. Against Labyrinth Wall, it's something. Giant Trunade. Nice. Super rare. This is banned for a reason, and I don't think it's going to come back for a while. Especially since we got Hey Trunade. But Giant Trunade, super rare, looks great. Trying to get a good camera angle, but this is probably the best I can do at the moment. Love the artwork on this card. It's like a big hurricane and stuff. Love it. Super rare magic card. Wow. Fairy's Hand Mirror. It's not that great. It's not that bad, but it's not that great. Next, Confiscation. Super rare spell card. I like the old artwork, you know, it's like, it's not complicated, it's just, it's got more meaning to it. It's more sinister, you know? Pay 1,000 life points to look at your opponent's hand, select one card and discard it to the grave. That's great. You pay 1,000, you discard a card from your opponent's hand. Back then, the hand was everything. You didn't have as much draw power as nowadays. The decks needed at least 2 or 3 cards to go off, minimum of 2 or 3, and it needed at least 2 or 3 turns to make those work, compared to today where you just summon one monster and get your board. That was a great way to stop your opponent back then, especially since this is also the set where Delinquent Duo came out, and that was mean-er. We got Final Destiny. Discard 5 cards from your hand, destroy all the cards on the field. That was mean, but it's pretty rare someone actually resolved it. Fire Kraken, a squid that thrives on fire and heat. Level 4, 1600 attack. That was a beatstick back then. Banisher of the Light. This has been used for a long time in banished decks and stuff like that. It's also a great defense monster. It's been played, like I can see it's been played on the front of the card. The back is okay actually. The back is okay, but the front has been definitely played. As long as this card remains face up on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is removed from play. That would hurt a lot of decks that needed their graveyard for some reason. Back then it wasn't as intense, but as the game progressed, that card became even more relevant. Like, it was intense. That and Banisher of Radiance were great cards back when DDs or something. Like, not the DDDs, but the DDs, different dimensions. Those were insanely awesome times where Caius first came out. I remember those days, they were fun. Toon World, nice, super rare right here. Lovely, super rare, magic card. Definitely going in the collection. This looks like it's in a pretty good condition, actually. Like, the glare stops us from seeing too well on the camera, but I'm looking at it with my own eyes, and it looks dashing. Dashing. The back is decent. It's not perfect, but it's great. It's like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. For the year it's come out of, it's pretty great, considering that the person who sold this to me was not necessarily a big collector, but more of a player who got rid of their collection. These cards are in great condition. Spellbinding Circle, ultra rare. Awesome. This was great back then, and it looks amazing. Spellbinding Circle. Wow. People used to play this just because it was like a Yugi card-ish. But this was insanely good. For some reason, back then, it was harder to play through this than through different cards, because this stopped you from using the monster for anything except tributing. Basically, back then, tributing did not happen too often, especially if it's just one monster. But if the opponent, like, summoned Skull or something like that, and you used Spellbinding on that monster, the opponent would be screwed, because not only did they waste resources to get the big monster on the field, but they wouldn't be able to use the monster, and usually you only have 2-3 big monsters, 1 or 2 medium monsters, and that's out of at least a 40 or 50 card deck. So if you used at least one before, and you were playing your second one, and the second one got stopped by that, you would be in a big amount of problems. Toon Mermaids, ultra rare, awesome. Look at the flashing rainbow lights on this card. Wow. Toon Mermaid Magic Rulers. It's not first edition, but it's amazing. I like how they censored it, but not censored it at the same time. It's amazing. I love this card. I used to play Toons, my first deck ever, and now this goes way back when, like in 2003 or something like that. My first deck ever was actually Toons, because my first starter deck that I ever got was Pegasus. That was a deck that got me into the game. And I used to play Toon World, Toon Mermaid, Blue Eyes Toon. I used to play everything back then. It was insane. I used Relinquish. I had 2 Relinquish in my deck because if I stalled with too many tributes in my hand with Toon Summon Skull and Blue Eyes Toon, I could at least get rid of them, get my Relinquished, but I could also use Relinquished for anything, including Senjus and stuff like that. It was such a fun deck. It was risky, but it was fun, and that's what really got me into the game back then. That and collecting. I only had 1 deck, but I had over 1,000 cards in less than a few months because I really enjoyed collecting. I used to collect like stamps and stuff like that, but when I got into the card games, my folks decided that not only am I collecting, which is fun, but I'm also socializing, which was also another big factor in me being able to collect so much. Toon Summon Skull. Awesome! The toons in this set look gosh darn amazing. Wow, look at these! Look at the flashing colors on these. These are insane. I love them. Definitely going in a binder, you guys. This is great looking. Relinquish to go with our Black Illusion Ritual. Oh, I hope this is in great condition. Oh, I hope this is in great condition. Oh, this is the Magic Ruler one. Oh, I'm so happy. Relinquished. So much text just to say that you can steal some stuff and make your opponent sad. Relinquished. And I got to see if the quality is there, and honestly, it's in great condition for the age and whatever it's been through. The back is a little scratched, but it's not that bad. It's probably a 7 out of 10. Maybe 6, depending on what place you're what person's grading it, but I would say that this is good considering the age. This is like 2003. It's 15 years old. Jeez, it's amazing how well some of these are preserved. Megamorph. This on Mahavilo sometimes won you games, and that was insane. Maha would gain 500 because of, it was equipped with an equip spell, but this, if your life points were lower than your opponent, that would double the attack of the equipped monsters. So, I mean, if the monster had 2050, that would make it a 4,100 attack monster, which was insane. And 4,000 back then was incredible. But the thing is that if you didn't finish your opponent that turn, usually Megamorph would half the attack, and so it would become a 1,025 attack. And that would be stupid. But hey, Megamorph was insane back then. It was the card that made you do your big comebacks if you didn't have cards like Mirror Force and stuff like that. It's a little damage on the front, but it looks pretty decent. Oh, the back's been played quite a bit. You guys might not see it too well because of the camera and the glare, but I see a lot of scratches here. Oh well, it looked great from the front, and that's what matters when you try to fill a binder of old school memories. At this point, this collection was bought just for the memories and for having copies of cards that I haven't seen in so long. It wasn't bought in order to have a perfect collection, but rather to enlarge almost non-existent collection of very classic cards. Acts of Despair. Speak of the Devil. We talked about this card earlier. This is a great card for Mahavelo. This made the monster be over 3,000 attack, and it's just a 2-card combo. Acts of Despair. Awesome. This was an insane card back then, and it's in pretty decent shape. Like, it's been played a bit, but it's in pretty decent shape. And the final card, the most important card for some of you guys out there probably, Mystical Space Typhoon, the original card that people just mistook the effect for something else. Mystical Space Typhoon does not negate, guys. It destroys one magic or trap card on the field. It does not negate effects. You guys, this has caused so many problems to players back then. It's insane. It's in pretty good condition, actually. Like, the corners are a bit roughed, but not too much. And the back, it's been played, but it wasn't heavy play. Oh, very good condition, actually. Very good condition. So that was the collection I bought. Honestly, it's a pretty good deal. If only it came in earlier than this, it would have been even better. But I'll just move the camera around quickly so you guys can get a quick overlook again at all these classic foil cards that really changed the game for at least a set or two, maybe even more, because I remember this card right here, Mystical Space Typhoon, was used quite a lot, and still a lot of people use it. And tunes are still very prevalent in the game. Relinquished got some support earlier this year. Messenger of Peace, as I said, I used it for a bit with Dracos, True Kings, or whatever the name is. And Giant Trunade is banned for a reason. And even Banisher was used quite a bit. So, I mean, these cards were used for a long time for a lot of reasons. Probably the the lesser used cards were Invader and Confiscation because this probably got limited or banned. But Invader and yeah, Invader is the only card in here that didn't see a lot of play. Serpent Knight didn't see a lot of play, but it wasn't really as good as a lot of the cards that came for 2 tributes back then. And also, it's a secret rare. Not a lot of people had access to those. They were extremely hard to get. You weren't even guaranteed 1 per box back then. You were guaranteed like an Ultra, maybe 2. But secret rares, you had 1 per like 2 boxes or so. They were hard to come by, and there were 2 per sets, and 1 was hobby, and 1 was general. So if you bought enough packs from like a Walmart, you wouldn't necessarily get both secrets. You would get only 1 of the 2, and the other one was in the hobby stores only. So that was a very hard way to complete sets back then. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm trying to get these cards nowadays. It's just a little easier, and I have more budget than back then. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this trip down memory lane. I know it's been a long video, but this was a great collection, and honestly, a lot of nostalgia came back, and I just had to share this with you guys. Sometimes I'll do some videos like these. It's my first time buying a collection. Usually I just buy a card or two, but this, I just had to jump on the occasion. It felt right, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I sure did. And until next time, guys, it's been a pleasure, and Penem out.